Hello, my friend.
I'm getting my charger because the last time this happened, my charger, the phone went.
Nice. It's
Um,
so
how are
kind of
you?
here's I'm doing great. I'm doing really, really good.
Aw.
Um, it's so funny, I've been doing a lot of this canvassing now and just talking with people. I'm loving the conversations that I'm having with people. And
Aw.
there's a gentleman that I cross paths with in one of these complexes, and
Mhm.
every now and then you can recognize who is like the the fire starter or like the champion of the complex or the person who knows everybody, that sort of thing. And there's this gentleman from Scotland that I met.
Oh,
And you know how I knew he was from Scotland? Because when I say he says like that.
oh, yeah, I guess.
You say it all the time.
Do I? What's his accent? Do you know where he's from in Scotland?
I couldn't
No.
tell. I would know.
Okay. I've
Yeah.
not got a strong accent either. I'm not like strong. I'm probably more like twangy Australian,
Yeah.
but that's cool. So,
There's some of the nuance. Maybe it's just like some of the nuances. Like if my brother was in here, like we'd sound the same, but we don't sound the same. Like there's some kind of
yeah,
intonations just from like your sound. There's a Toronto sound. It's not an accent, but there's a
yeah,
sound. You know?
yeah, totally. It's like
Yeah.
when you
Right. For real. Like
uh,
we all have those things. So that's funny.
yeah.
Yes. And there's my brother right now.
Oh.
So it's interesting. So I was talking about when I was like just having this conversation. Yeah, you got the about in there too, right? How we have those moments where we connect with someone, you're like, wow, I didn't realize that I even made that much of an impact on them.
Right. See, that sentence sits with me better just now. What you were saying before, you go in different modes, right? You go in different moods, each day.
Yes.
And when you were speaking before, like I'm like, oh, cool, Martin's on, I'll put him on. And it was like the bragging thing. And I was like, well, I think I said in my head, bragging. And then you said bragging. And I was like, nah, I'm just not feeling it today. Like, obviously I know that I've like, I know that I come from a good place, a good purpose, and I help, and my intention is always to help others find their path. But then when you said it, I was thinking, it's not my story to tell. Like, and maybe it's because at the moment, I'm about to like launch a webinar, like just to explain what we do behind the scenes, like big picture, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing a lot of the admin, like you have to, write out the emails that match it, that say you have to brag, like, so you have to, oh, here's quotes people have said, here's things they have said, and I've started to put on my Instagram page now quotes that people have said and things like that.
Yes.
And I have to think of it as like air.
Yes.
It's air, like it's air that's doing that, because it's not me, for one, it's the hammock and it's the work. So it's air, and also it doesn't always take you a nice place. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to think that me, like, ego, like it's, I love hearing about their impact. I love, and there's like, don't get me wrong, they come in it in leaps and bounds and they tell me, and I appreciate that. But in this situation, like if you said to me, like, tell me your success, I just would be like, meh. It's like, what I think that's one of the hardest things as a Pilates teacher or as a business owner, Pilates teacher, is like, you do your work because you come from the heart, but then the flip side of that is, then how do you be like, I do, I do this, like even in interviews like this, like it's so much better speaking, because otherwise you're just going, I do this, and I'm like totally amazed. Like, I do that, man. You just even hear yourself going, I'm such a, like,
I love how many people are enjoying watching Debbie just writhe trying to talk this through right now. That's the whole thing. I want to lean into this word brag, because most people that would be even watching this don't come from a place of being so arrogant that you brag all the time.
Right.
You want to err on the other side of that so far that you never even give yourself the credit that you need.
Yeah, because you're like here, and then that's why I miss it. Oh my God! In fact, even last week, I was like, I said to my friends, I was like, oh, I'm going nuts because I'm in my head. But I'm in my head because I'm doing this webinar and chat and admin, and it's like only me that can do it. And she was like, you need Reiki. Like, so I went and got Reiki, and I felt more like grounded, and I did root like meditations, and now I'm just like, okay, cool, I've got this. And like, I'm on Monday motivation, and I'm like firing through it. But it's so interesting that you were talking about this, because I was like, no, like,
it's cringeworthy to think about bragging.
Yes.
But even as I'm going through this campaign, people have sat me down and been like, you need to brag. People need to know what you do. And it's like, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I just don't. I mean, like, you think that.
You're body. But the thing is that I wrote on your I read on your Instagram earlier, and you said about the campaign that you'd done and like going canvassing to people's houses and like all this stuff. And I was like, wow. And it's like, I want to hear that. Like, I want to hear, because it makes me strive and do more. But honestly, see, like, you're literally saying like the very thing though that I'm like, no.
Right. This is like the most like comfortable / awkward conversation right now, because we're both like trying to break out of the shell of just being.
I even feel like I'm red. Like, I feel embarrassed. Like, I feel like, oh, like, it's so weird, isn't it? Because I see it when you're speaking, and then you're like, oh. Like,
I know. Okay, so this is what happened the other day at the door. Okay, so I was talking with this lady. Yes, exactly. So I'm having this conversation with this lady at the door, right? And she's a black lady, and I'm saying, well, you know, I lived in this area, did my whole little thing, and she's like, well, why would I want to vote for you? And I said, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. I really like this area. I grew up over there. And then my wife is behind me. She's like, he has his master's in social work. Like, she starts spitting out the things that I have.
Yes.
Because like, I'm trying to like teach from the heart, speak from the heart. It's like, this lady doesn't care. She wants to know, what do you got? What have you done? So there's times when we need to share those things, and it seems so uncomfortable because we're not the type of people that would want to boast and want to brag. But there's a time and a place to just share the facts of what we've done, what are our credentials, and what are our accomplishments.
Yes. Like, I'm literally doing a PowerPoint presentation at the moment for the webinar, and I'm like putting it together, and I'm like, that's cool. I can do, you know, nice pictures and information and content, and like, you've seen behind the scenes. So there's like loads to like show and share, and you know, information. And I am so stuck at the bit that's like, and I'm getting like, you know, support, like somebody's like working with me on it. And I was like, do you know what? I think you have to help me with this bit. Like, I can't, the bit of me going like my credentials, everything.
Yes. But attention. This is why I'm awesome. Like, that part is just like, see that.
But like then we need support. Like see the fact that your wife is behind you, like saying that, and then like, but it's
okay. Now I have an amazing wife. I'm saying that she's fantastic. I love everything about her. Why can't we encourage ourselves like that?
Yeah, that's true. Do we want to? Because what about someone that did? What about someone that actually no? Because then there's certain people, like I think on here, I instantly think right now of Jenna Zaffino and Leslie Logan, and I think that they like are so about boosting people's confidence and like, you know, working from the heart. And I never look at that. I always look at them and go like, yeah. And when I saw your post, I was like, yeah. I don't know. It's just
because it sounds less than humble, like Sunny's saying. Well, it sounds okay. Real talk. It's not that it sounds less than humble. It sounds like I'm afraid to be obnoxious. I don't want to present myself like I'm arrogant or I'm cocky.
Right.
I don't want to. I fear being accused of being
yes.
self-absorbed.
Yes.
But when I'm coming from so far over here and move like just this much over, I'm still so far from being self-absorbed.
Yeah.
I've only come to here.
Yeah.
But
It's
that
like
may be
interesting.
just because because it's the same conversation when we start talking about sales, right? Like if you're a type of person who give away the farm every single time, and I tell you, well, you need to talk about your pricing, and you're like, no, I don't want to sound like a pushy salesperson. You are still not a pushy salesperson.
Yeah. So okay, so I have a question. Is this something that is we need to gain skills to grow, to just do it and be okay with it and overcome it, or is this part of coming from the heart, and you get other people to support you?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, are we like, well, that's who I am, or is it like, yeah, do you know, I should really gain this because I'm, you know, I'd say we're both doing the work in terms of like we're both taking steps to even have this conversation in front of others, but also that you know that you put up this post and then I'm doing this webinar PowerPoint and then you know, but why are people gonna come if they don't hear about what I've done? Like they wouldn't. So I'm gonna have to like do it.
I love watching you wrestle with this.
I do. Do you know what as well? Because I'm like working on my own. So I rest. This is what my friend said. You're in your head. I have little conversations with my like company directors.
Yes, it's a team meeting right now, and I was invited.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can if you could just round it up and tell me the end information.
Sure. I'm going to read it out Chris's part here. It almost feels to me like the intent of teaching from the heart or authentically also feels somehow attached, more gentle or passive verbiage in sales and marketing. Yes. Yeah, exactly. There is definitely a parallel between those things. And I think this is one of those conversations too that like we both know, Deb and I both know that if someone came into the room and had this problem, we could talk them off the ledge. We could tell them that they're amazing, and this is all you need to say, you'll be fine, run along, life will be good. So I recognize that this is like a real authentic conversation because there's one context where we've got this mastered, and then a new context comes along where you have to have the same dialogue from the last context to get through it. And that's where I feel I am, and it sounds like that's where you are too, as you're getting ready to launch another chapter of your business.
Yeah. And it's different if it's you. Like, you know, it's easier to say this brand and this company and this, but when it's purely you, you're you, which as Pilates teachers, studios, that's what we often do. Like
Right.
And we're not necessarily taught that. So you haven't really got someone that's said, you know, in the same way that you get cues for exercises, you and then that's, I guess, what is how you feel you can, like, you're making it up because of because you started that way, making it up because you know.
Well, yes. And that's the thing too. So in this context, even with I just wrote down we speak here because even in that context of, you know, Pilates and stuff like that, I could still get away with we speak, right? Like, I mean, I could talk about us in this Pilates world. So I say I do this. I can still say we as Pilates instructors do this. The challenge for me at this stage is with this campaign, there's no we. It's I'm in the middle of a popularity contest right now. It's like an old school, high school popularity contest. Go Martin! And I hate that part of it. Because there's the part about like, look at me, vote for me, I'm the best type thing. Like that's the part that is challenging, that I can handle it within the business context.
Yeah.
But now I had to get used to it in this context.
So the part of you that is doing this, hey, look at me, you're really saying, oh my God, this is what you said, we'd be able to help each other. It's the part of you that's saying, hey, my values.
Right.
So, like, if I you know, if you think of your vows, like if I think of my vows, then I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
yes, exactly. I can subscribe to those values.
Right. And then,
Right.
you know, by putting up your hand, you're really like, no, the values, like like from the heart, it's like my values. So if I'm putting my hand up to be listened to and heard, it's because I know I come from a good, but I've got good values. It's like,
Yes.
I guess it's reframing it. I didn't even know I needed this conversation.
Yes. Right. So there's so many comments, like, and we got locked into our conversation. I'm missing some of these comments here. So second, we applies how second comment says, it's so hard to see that and break out of it while staying in alignment with ourselves.
Yes.
Yes. And then Gordon Mojo says, when I was doing stand-up, I could always play a part easily, but being me was hard.
Yes.
That
Stand-up.
being me part, right?
Is that like stand-up comedy? That's hard. When I was doing is that like stand-up comedy?
Sunny, I think so. Sunny, yes. We'll find out in a second.
Yeah.
So everyone who just came in as Debbie and I started our therapy session, we were talking about bragging, and we cringed at the word bragging, so we rephrased it to say, what? To
putting
celebrate,
your hand up instead
putting
of
your
being
hand
like,
up.
look at me. It's like,
right.
Look at these values. These values
Yes.
I stand for.
Right. So those values that we stand for, you shared those values and that experience with someone a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and now they're here. So can you share a story of someone that you worked with in the past and what they're doing now? Maybe someone that you taught that is now a teacher, you know, or something like that? In your
you want
world?
me? I'm like, wait, you want me to?
Yeah.
I mean, there's been loads, I'm literally just starting to put up videos now of the teachers saying information, and I have like a little WhatsApp group with them, and I said, can you send me videos of things? Because again, otherwise I find that I'm making the story up for them. But yeah, no, there's like they say I'm like they say like, you know, oh, you know what Debbie's doing, her energy, it's great, you know, I've done this, I've got success, I've got, you know, so many people in my studios, clients, you know, have achieved this, and I've, you know, as aerialists, they're like, Pilates makes total sense, this is a game changer, it's life changing, you know, like there's you know, I can pinpoint individual sentences, but I feel like it's not my story to say
that's fair.
One person that, you know what I mean, like and I think that's why I'm like I'm gonna start posting all the videos of them saying it, because I literally was like, I just can't keep saying it, and then they say it for me, so then I'm like, that's cool.
It is. It's so much more powerful when you hear it from their perspective, right?
Yeah, and it's not my words; it's their words. So then it comes, But what about yourself?
Yes. Well, that's the one I just mentioned today, right? Like in terms of the kid from But the thing is, the reason why that touched me is that was actually the third time that's happened in the last few months. So, and every time it's really, it's humbling. I think that's the other part to it too. It really is humbling when you hear that, right? Because we come from just teaching from the heart, and we're thinking about the next person and how we can help them. And we're kind of we're in the trenches with our thoughts and our movement and our people, that when someone kind of pulls us out and say, hey, this is how you helped me, you're like, oh, wow, like that's awesome, right? Like, so that parent I just talked about on the weekend, there's another time that I knocked on someone's door, and it was the daughter of and the father of one of the young people from the drop-in. So the two generations were right there. And so she still lives in the area, and she has her business, and she's doing really well. So it was kind of cool to talk with her. And the third story was one that was really fun, where I was driving around with my son, and we have a new to us car, it's an older car, and it had a weird kind of rattle. So we pulled into this parking lot, and we're just looking at it to see what's going on. And then this guy pulls up, And you know, he's a mechanic, and he's looking at it, and he says, you know, like, I recognize him right away. He was also a young person from back in the day that I did spend a lot of time with. And he turns to my 18-year-old son and says, like, your dad like changed my life. Your dad's a good guy. He's, you know, and he just went on and on with his story, right? Of like, of all those different things. So he is like endorsing me to my son based on experience from when he was my son's age, right? So like,
Wow.
yeah, those wow moments, and those are the things, and that's what I'm trying to hold space for, because we don't put those stories out there, but when they hit us like that, it just feels good to hear it, right?
It really does, because I was like, yeah, yeah. It just sounds, it's beautiful to hear. It's beautiful to hear. And it's almost like a celebration of everything that we do and
Yes.
give. And so it's almost like if there was another, like another teacher saying it like yourself, and I'm listening, then I'm like, wow, it's almost like a you know, a celebration of
Yes.
everything that we do. You know, you know, it's easy to be, and I guess it gives really good vibration to the
Yes.
Pilates industry and what we do in a celebration. And you know, it is important. It is important to celebrate what we do well and right, and each other, and moments when it is good and it is right. And yeah, you're right. You know, oh my God, yeah, you're totally right. It's like the celebration. It's a celebration of the impact.
Right, exactly.
So
that's a beautiful reframe for bragging.
Yeah.
A celebration. What did you say a second ago?
What did I say? What did I say? Well, that's what I did. I reframed it because I thought I don't want to say bragging because it feels negative. Whereas if I said a celebration of what we do, I don't know. Celebration of what?
Somebody, can you write it in
Yeah,
the
what
chat?
did we say? What did I say?
We'll play it I'll capture it on replay. But that's exactly it. And but also, you said it too, though. We were talking about the different testimonies of people saying, like, you know, like you help them in their work, that you have more clients, a celebration of the impact. Yes. Thank you.
Forget what I say.
Yeah. So like a celebration of impact, like that's what verifies I was just said there. That's exactly it. Like when we like you were saying, like how people like it you know, brought more people into their studio, or just help them to give some, like you said in the past too, like, you know, it gives them almost like a language, or like an addition to what, like, to their aerial work, having applies layer to it and all those different things. Like it makes the work come alive for them, and that's what you're providing for people, right?
It makes it come alive for them, and it makes it longevity. Like, it's so hard as an aerialist. The struggle is real, and it's hardcore in your body, but you get so much joy from it and euphoria, but it's so hard. Everything is hands and forearms. Everything is a strain on your body. You're like, you get uptight, you get really overloaded. You get like, I've got clients on just now, that's lovely. Yeah. And it's really hard on the body, but the Pilates aspect keeps it. And it's so nice for me to hear this, because it keeps aerialists like in good condition, understanding, missing jigsaw pieces, like getting like more strength in themselves, in their awareness, in their anatomy, in their movement, in their teachings, in their offerings. Like aerialists are like overjoyous of like how much the Pilates side of things brings to them. They're like sponges. They're like, like you know, just like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is incredible. They can't like get enough of it sometimes. And it helps them maintain what they love doing.
Right. So you're adding years to people's careers.
You're definitely adding in a healthy, like, training, mindset, conditioning. See, I can't say I'm adding years to their like, they can say that. But yeah, and then that's when you think, wow, that's really great. That's, you know, I'm doing something great. And then it's a celebration of, hey, and that's what I want. I want the Pilates industry, or people, to go, wow, actually what she's doing is bringing Pilates to these whole aspect of athletes that will train and work hard and want to learn and grow and, you know more about it. And this is an introduction to them about it. So I guess it's, you know, my fear would be that, you know, of course you're diluting the Pilates method, but I guess what I'm trying to do is not. It's like I'm trying to bring the concentration in and the impact of it and celebrate that.
Right.
Yeah. But you do have to. I have to actively say. I have to get better at actively saying the good I do.
Right. Don't we all? I think this has been a great, you know, this is it's like a master class on self-confidence right now. It's so funny.
I've got clients actually in. I don't know if Sally's still in, but Sally is an aerialist. She might say something about the training course. Yeah, because it's all ages as well that are involved. She might not be online anymore.
Yeah, so
but
funny.
yeah, it's an interesting conversation. It's really interesting because it's quite like it's an you know, like I could say I would look at this, you know, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, like it's yeah, like you keep coming back to it, checking in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always gonna be different contexts, right? Where it's there's a new angle that you have to look at it from.
Yeah,
It's good. Wow, my phone's actually dying here. That was a healthy conversation, Debbie. I think I needed that.
I definitely needed it as well. With all the admin I'm doing, it is different to write it than to say it, especially when you like ask as well, and then when there's people watching, because you're seen. So.
Well, you know, on truth being told, it's almost like we're creating our own accountability by doing it this way too, right? Because you know that we have to live up to this.
Eek. Well, do you know, I have to say that your post, I was interested in it. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's what he's doing. Like, in no way does it come across as, yeah, like you say, if you're in this end of the scale, it's like, you know, just pop it up a little bit just to like step into your power, maybe. I don't know if that's
right. Okay, so if you're going from passive to assertive to aggressive and you're still over in passive, if you make one step over, you're not aggressive yet. You're still hardly even assertive. Like you're you know, we're not near that center line. So yeah, so that's it's funny. It's good. Well, I'm gonna see if someone else wants to join us and share a story, or if it's gonna be another. Yeah, I know it. Now that we did the counseling part of it, and we've got our therapy out, and we have some homework, you and I. Let's see if someone wants to join us. It'll be fun.
I have to say as well, and that's amazing, Sunny, that she said she did stand up. That's hardcore.
I know. That's like, yeah, it'd be interesting. Jay Spring. Cool. All right, Debbie, thanks for joining me. It was like a fantastic, appreciate your conversation. That was a great chat.
No worries.
Air Control Pilates. If you're not following her, please do. She's doing great work. Really fantastic stuff. Yes. I can imagine both of those being insanely, like, conquering your fear in moments. It was interesting, Sunny, when you were talking the other day about like transferring or moving from California to Texas, and just how you know, you got that new connection to that studio and you're getting in there and stuff like that. Like there's a legacy piece in there just from your work with Going More Joe. That is fantastic. I love those personal challenges. celebrating what you're learning and what you're doing there. And I had a post about Andrew Mitchell, who is in Barcelona with Maria Earle doing like a graduate program with her. Hasn't taken a Pilates course in like 20 years, and now she's like diving deep on the work again, and is reigniting her passion for the work. So those are always really fun things to see. We are Pilates House. You're in Naples, you're saying. What's going on, Nicole? A bunch of people are in the chat now. I'm going to screenshot that celebration of impact. There you go. Pilates Muscat, how are you? Cool. Well, we have 20 minutes left. If anyone else would like to join me on screen, the question that we started with before Debbie and I went on this tangent about bragging versus celebrating was, do you have any success stories from people that you've worked with in the past, like those kind of where are they now moments? And it is tough to think of it as bragging. So let's take that word bragging out now that we've kind of got a handle on it. And let's talk about just celebrating some of the work that we've done in the past that brought us to where we are right now. And Pilates Muscat, where are you located? Just out of curiosity. And Pilates with Passion as well. Where are you guys? Oh, nice. Middle East is in the house. That's so cool. Welcome. California. California really is like a hotbed for Pilates. It's like studios all over the place. Body Tonic, what's going on? Hi, Ivy. Thanks for your post the other day. That was really, really good. So Pilates with Passion. The topic this morning is sharing your story. And I'm going to throw it this way. And actually, Ivy would be amazing to have on too. Do you have any stories of people that you work with like a long time ago and you just reconnect with them, and just the story of the impact that the work has had on their lives? You know, like someone who used to teach and now they become an instructor, or someone who, like they couldn't walk and now they're walking pain-free, or just share a story. Celebrate some of the work that you've done over the years. This is a moment to celebrate your people, your experiences, your learning, and your journey in this Pilates space. And for those of you who are just joining, the reason why I share that is because I started in social work before I came into the fitness world, and I came across some parents of one of the young people that I introduced to the gym when they were a teenager, and now 20 years later they're still working out on the regular. They got involved in the nonprofit that I used to work at. They have a good job and all those different things. So just being able to date back to the interactions that we had back in the day. So it's just a kind of a feel good moment, like in the midst of just so much negativity that we see in this space, being able to look back and just celebrate the things that we've seen. So I'm reading Pilates with Passion. It says almost every client I've had experience my men's, any men's change in their body, immense maybe. Yeah. I love it. The conversation that Debbie and I just had really speaks to the fact that there's not that many people that want to come on and brag, right? Like, it's good to lean into that word and just find out where you sit with that and how that sits within you. Maybe we just spend the rest of the time talking about that. Yes, immense. So applies with passion. How long have you been training for? How long have you been teaching or in your studio for? And while we're on this topic, teaching for exactly 25 years. So exactly. So do you have any contact with anyone you were working with in your first or second year? Any of them still training with you? I know I have a few people, so like my second client ever still is with me from 2002. Um, so like those, like they have stories for days, right? I'm going to read Ivy's comment here. So my favorite thing is when people change their perception about pain, ability, etc. New ways of thinking about their body. Yes, that's great. And it's so funny. Like, it's one thing for them to change the way they see their body, but then when you hear them in a conversation that you're not a part of, and hear how they talk about themselves and the different things that they've experienced, like you could hear that mindset shift in such a cool way. That's really affirming for me. Um, there's one particular client I have. Her calf atrophy when she was 27 years old. Therefore, she did not have the ability to plant or dorsiflex. Yes. Yeah. 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 So it's so funny. Like for them, like applies to passion. As to your point, there's times when those things happen and people they choose to live with their pain. They almost accept that this is their lot in life, and then they meet you, and then you are able to give them hope and possibility and just enough fuel that they can then put in the work on their own, complement the work that you're giving them in the studio, and they start to see some real lasting and permanent change. And then they go back and they give you all the credit for it, when the reality is that all the work that they were doing, they start sleeping better, they start eating better, they start supplementing, they start taking care of themselves, they start doing the work when they're sitting at home watching TV. They do all these things on their own, and then the 3 hours a week, 2 hours a week that you spend with them is they give you the credit for it. It's kind of awesome. Um, when they're the true champions of it, but we're a part of it. And I think that that little part that we play in it, that's the piece that I want to celebrate today. 100%. It's all about empowerment. And that's the irony of empowerment. Like in that story, just the example I gave a minute ago, you empower people, you give them all the power, all the tools to do it, and then they turn around and they give you the credit for it anyways. That's almost the beauty of it. It's such a reciprocating relationship of you giving them more and then them wanting more and them doing something with that more, and it just grows from there, right? So interesting, interesting journey. Love this journey. Lisa Reed, yoga. How are you? Long time. Yes, the connection all the way around. Absolutely. Well, I have to say this in closing. I think that our people are so lucky is an understatement. Fortunate, blessed to have you. The fact that you care enough to invest in education, to open your studios, and to put up with all kinds of other kind of foolishness just for the sake of this person in front of you is amazing. And they are so gifted, and so it's so great that they're empowered by you to find that movement, that freedom, that joy, that strength, all those things through you. So kudos to all of you. I'm going to read Pilates with Passion's comment. I always tell my clients I am here for suggestions, and they're the ones who are working hard to get it done. Yes. I think we all have some kind of language around that. I say, like, I'm coming alongside you in your fitness journey. Someone else may say something else, but really it's their show. We're here to kind of just like direct traffic and just like share and be a conduit for all these things. But the reality is that it is them. Yes, Records of Pilates is saying, and it's so important to really hear full caps them when it comes, when they give us that feedback. Yeah, I learned that early in the game, and I really encourage new trainers as well to ask for that feedback, to invite that feedback. And that's a scary thing to do at first, to invite feedback, because then what if they're like, I don't like this. I've been doing this exercise for 3 weeks and I don't see a difference, and actually it's been hurting my shoulder. I've been telling you and you never really listen. Like, you don't want to hear that stuff, so you're almost afraid to ask for feedback in case you get negative feedback. But what if you get positive feedback? Or what if you get constructive feedback that you can make an easy pivot on, and then you have a better relationship? That feedback piece it takes some courage, but invite it. It'll only make you better. It will only make you better. Then you go back to the lab, and then you put in your work. Liking all those hearts to the chat there. This is great comments. Thank you to everybody. I have some more guests coming up this week. Interesting, different fields. Like, I wrote an app for the community, like community reporting type app stuff. Local guy, so I'm kind of curious to hear that. Like, you know me, I like to ask questions. I'm kind of curious to see what got him into that and how he got to that place. We all have lots of things we need to work with. But just reading through these comments are flowing through right now. Grateful for this conversation. Grateful that it happened, says Goran Moore Joe. And Applies with Passion. Thank you. Got to get to the studio now. I got to get to work now too. So I really appreciate you joining us today. And Debbie Robbins, thank you for that really, truly heartfelt conversation. Please, everybody, if you can share this, reshare that first half of the conversation. That's a great recycle in terms of being able to just wrestle with those things, because I know all of us are coming from a place of humility and wanting to serve someone else. So we don't want to be that braggadocious person, but we do need to let people know how powerful this work is, how much we've invested in it, and how it could make a difference in their life. I have a friend who is a psychologist, and his line is always like, I believe I can help you. And he's not making like super promises, but as a psychologist, he basically invites them to believe that this can help by saying, I believe I can help you. And I think everyone here believes that they can help somebody. So please, in a humble way, celebrate your successes, share some of those stories with people, and let them know that, you believe you can help them, and that they believe, and invite them to believe that you can make a difference, right? So, yes, Ivy, such a rich conversation. I feel pretty good going into this. More than just a Motivation Monday hashtag. Like, this is legit, like a motivating conversation. So, Debbie, I hope you get all your admin done. Party people, hope you get everything done you got to get done this week. And thank you so much for joining us. We are out and back at it tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Core Conversations. Peace out.